Hi, welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have a real special guest, an icon in the city of Revere, I must say, and also the Superintendent of the Year in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Dakin, and welcome, sir.
Thank you, Morris.
I would like, before we go into the students, and we have a bunch of terrific students here, could you just tell us a little about yourself, as your education, and how you became superintendent, sir?
Well, my first 19 years in education were actually in private education in the city of Boston. And then with education reform in 1993, I thought that things were going to change in the public sector. And I thought the unique tools that are used in private school education might have a place to help public education reform. And I was lucky at the time. The superintendent in Revere at the time, Rocco Malfitano, gave me a shot at becoming a director of science, math, and technology, which was computer education in the city. I did that for a couple of years and ended up as assistant superintendent working with Carol Ty, who assumed the superintendency.
Right.
So we did that for 5 years, and then after Carol retired, this is year 12, finishing year 12 as the superintendent in the city.
Very good. I would like to point out some of the students that went to high school and graduated from high school, and they were part, well, I believe you were superintendent. There's a teacher at the Wayland School. I don't know her last name, but her name is Janelle. Does that ring a bell to you?
Well, we have a lot of Janelles. We have Janelle Perulo, whose last name is a marriage name now. I lose track of their names. She's a Revere High School student teaching in the Revere Public Schools.
Right, she's at the Wayland School, and she teaches the 4th and 5th grade students. And every year she gets organized with them and the principal, and they invite the seniors from the senior center to come down and talk to them. And we had a nice discussion, and we tell them about our what we did in World War II or Korean vets, whatever they come down. So it's an honor to go there to see them. We also have a student by the name of Destiny Martin. You might know her.
Yeah, I've heard of the student.
Comes to the senior center to help out the seniors, to serve us, to call the bingo. So those are some of the great students that we have there. You also have, before I go into the other students, a terrific ROTC program in your school. Could you tell us a little about that, sir?
Yeah, JROTC is a program in its first year that probably has made more of a mark as a first-year program than most that we put in place. Some people thought when we were really conceptualizing this that it may be too over the edge, it may be connected too much to military type thinking, and we had to allay some fears and dismiss that it's a character building in an academic program, much more so than preparation for the service even. Although students are in a military way in the program. There are over 100 cadets in first year. They've made huge impressions. Sergeant Major Bauca and Sergeant Callender have done a tremendous job. They really are strong leaders. They're military, they're retired military who do this. They have to get special training. Not only do they have to be licensed to do this job by the Department of Education, but they also have to be licensed by the military to be able to do these jobs. They are the spirit behind the program. And we have to give credit to Dr. Garcia, who was the principal of the high school, who really felt that this would be a good program to bring to Revere. He leveraged his case to myself and the school committee. We bantered it about and thought about it. And the programs he's decided to implement at Revere High School have been real successful. I am truly proud of those cadets. They are doing a wonderful job throughout the community. And anybody that has seen them has had good things to say about them.
I agree with you, sir. And we are very proud of you for being. I would like to ask you, you went out, there were 49 others besides yourself, superintendents from the 50 states. What was it like, if I would like to know?
Well, we went, actually I was brought to being superintendent of the year in Massachusetts. I ended up going on the association, sent me to Los Angeles to receive the awards. So I was in California for 4 days to receive the awards, participate in some conferences. They take the superintendents of the year from all of the states, and they sort of try to pick brains as to what are the best programs. And we will have a follow-up that I end up going to next fall down in Washington, D.C. So they'll use the Superintendents of the Year. We're the Superintendents of the Year 2013. And in the fall, we will go to Washington, D.C. to try to give to Arnie Duncan, who's the Secretary of Education for President Obama, some ideas from each state as to what the needs of the schools in that state are. So, you know, we have the chance to influence some policy at the national level, which is a good thing.
That's an excellent thing, Dr. Dakin. Another thing I would like to ask you, sir, is you also work with Bob DeLeo, I believe, on the gun control?
Yeah, Bob DeLeo started a gun advisory committee.
Right,
and the gun advisory committee is made up of professionals from different venues, medical profession, social services, higher education. I'm representing as president, I'm president of the Superintendents of Massachusetts. We have an association that I'm the president of this year.
Of all the superintendents?
That's right. So
Congratulations.
we got elected to, it's a system that you move through the chairs. You get elected in and you spend a year as vice president, then a year as president-elect, and a year as president, then a year as past president. Well, and actually it's that exposure, in all honesty, that allowed me to telegraph the good things going on in the Revere Public Schools, which ultimately got me the Superintendent of the Year award. So that award is really not an award that should be in my name. Rather, it's an award that is and should be in the name of the teachers and administrators in Revere Public Schools who really implemented the programs and developed the programs and followed our lead that made them look good, so that when I'm talking at big meetings about what goes on in the Revere Public Schools and we're impressing people, I happen to get the award. So I'm getting an award that was really, in my mind, earned on the back of the teachers and the administrators in Revere. But as president of the association, Bob DeLeo wanted the representative from the Superintendents Association to sit on the committee, and they assigned me that responsibility as president. So we're sitting on the Gun Advisory Committee and trying to figure out what is the best thing we can do in the state. Do laws have to be changed in order to make more safe our schools and our streets relative to the existing laws that are in the Commonwealth relative to the any kind of weapons?
Right. How do you feel about police in the school, which they were talking about?
Well, we actually have trained police officers in our school. They're actually Revere Public School police officers that get additional training. They're called school resource officers. And we've had them in the schools for well over 12 years. Probably about 14 or 15 years ago, the then Lieutenant Reardon started the program out, and it's mushroomed, and he followed it as chief, and now Chief Caffarelli has followed the same procedure. We have 2 officers in the schools. They work in the schools all day long with kids. They're street officers, but they're trained differently to work in our schools. They have police vehicles that are purchased by the school for specifically the kind of work of transporting students, which are different than transporting criminals. But at times, the officers actually, the students like the officers in the school. After they realize that the police are there to help them, the police aren't there to do anything except keep them safe and help them if something bad comes down. And a lot of kids, the vast majority of kids, get an even deeper respect for the work police officers do when they see how much these officers want to work with them. They work with them as a teacher would work with them, trying to guide them rather than penalize them. And I think the police department in general benefits from the understanding that kids get about the school resource officers.
Right. There's a police officer that I Maybe you know him. His name is Gerard Salvetti.
That's it. Yeah, Jerry's a great guy, and he's actually very good with the kids.
Excellent, and I can vouch for that because when I used to be a crossing guard at the Garfield School many, many years, I was a little younger than that, I'll tell you. And Jerry's been on the police force, I believe, for 19 years. He would help every single kid cross the streets, spend time talking to them, talking to their parents, even spend time sometimes talking to me. So he was an excellent.
And he was actually, at one time we had 3 school resource officers. We have 2 now. When we had 3 resource officers, Jerry was one of them. So he has that training. He understands how to work with the parents and how to work with the kids in a different way than the normal police training encourages them to do.
Right. I believe he's down now, if my memory is correct, at the new old Pleasant Street, the new substation that they have?
I don't know what his current assignment is, but whenever we run into him during the day, he's always the kind of guy that knows how to deal with the kids.
I think we have some of the best police officers.
He's a good one.
Right. I'd like to ask you a question about Shannon Donovan, if I may, sir. How do they pick which student goes overseas and which ones don't?
Well, that's a program that you sort of apply for. It's something that's not involved with the Revere Public Schools selecting.
But who pays for all that, if I may ask?
Fundraising pays for it.
Okay.
Yeah, fundraising. It's something that doesn't come out of the school budget or the city budget. Once a student gets to that point, there are some monies that are available for it, and then fundraising and parental help. It's a unique opportunity for a kid. Shannon did a great job. She represented the Revere Public Schools well, and she brought back a lot of great ideas. A terrific kid.
Right, and let me tell you, she worked at our senior center for many years, serving meals to the handicapped and the elderly, and calling bingo. And we're going to have her on our show, and it's going to be an honor to have her.
Yeah, she's a giver. She's a very good student.
Right, and I know I'm going to put you on the spot. Which, I mean, it's not a bad spot. We got some terrific schools here. I understand we're getting a new school.
We're rebuilding the McKinley School.
Okay. I heard a couple of women talking on Broadway, and they were talking about I don't know if they went to revitalizing the high school or having a new high school. Do you know anything about that, Dr. Dakin?
Yeah, we actually put in a grant that the state had open to rebuild science labs at Revere High School because we know that the science labs are antiquated and they don't meet today's standard. In addition, when we recently were accredited, one of the weaknesses they saw in the facility was the fact that the science labs are too small for what we need students to do in today's world relative to science learning in high school. And science is one of those areas that keeps our country number one.
I agree.
The state, realizing and recognizing that, opened a program up, a grant program, that we did a lot of work applying for. And they liked our grant, and we were a finalist for the grant. And it meant a whole team of architects and Department of Education people and Mass School Building Authority folks came to the school. It was about 7 folks for a full day and stayed in the high school facility looking it over to make a decision whether or not they would take our plan, which was going to build an addition to the high school with 16 labs in it, so that we could upgrade the existing facility. As it came to be, about a month after they were there, they came back and refused us. The reason they refused the grant was not that we didn't need it, but it came with a recommendation that Revere should develop a plan to start working on replacement of Revere High School because they feel that the facility is antiquated relative to today's educational standard. And when you move around the state and compare it to other high schools, the exposure of our students and what a facility can do to enhance 21st century learning is not being aided by the existing facility. So they actually came and requested a meeting with myself and the mayor in his office. The state officials, actually the director of the school building authority came, and they laid out conceptually, you know, that we should be thinking down the road of replacing of Revere High School.
The whole school?
The whole school. So that's probably a long-range plan. I think accreditation is again in 9 years. So I see the replacing of Revere High School and reaccreditation as probably simultaneous events. We have a huge project on our hands with the McKinley School.
Right.
We also have the need of more space because the number of students in the district is increasing and the high school is actually becoming too small. So that combination of things, the state realizing that the facility isn't what it is. I think it's a facility. I think we've done a good job keeping it up.
I think you've done an excellent job.
But they're looking at it comparatively and saying, look, the kids in Revere deserve more if you look around and compare it to other high schools. And they did what they had to do. I really think we would have been well served by their investment in science labs, and I don't think we would have to replace the school. But as they said their comment is, look, we pay for 80% of the high school if you're going to rebuild it. The state will.
Oh.
Revere will have to pay 20%, but that 20% is a big number. It's probably would cost $100 million or more to build it.
20 million.
So you're talking 20 million or more that we in Revere as taxpayers would have to come up with, and that's a tough nut to crack, which is going to take some strategic thinking if the state's pushing us down that road. So that new high school is not a Dr. Dakin idea. It's not a Revere Public Schools idea. It's not a mayor's idea. It's something that was dropped in our lap by the state saying, look, you've got to start seriously thinking about this high school. They don't last forever, and Revere's coming up for its just due.
Right. I'd like to ask you a question. I'm computer illiterate. You'll have to forgive me. I know nothing about it. My great-granddaughter, I should say, she's about 4.5, 5 years old. She comes home. She goes to pre-kindergarten, sits down and does it with the computer, and I watch her. But to me, it might as well be up there. What age do they start with the computers in the schools? I mean, from the youngest.
They start in kindergarten.
With the computers?
With the computers. They start in kindergarten. We have kindergartens working with iPads, kindergartners working with computers, and they take to it like that. It's a natural for them, and that's something that we as teachers have to be aware of. The students today and the youngsters today are being exposed to technology that's changing at such a rapid rate. It's much faster changing than ever. Just go back 20 years ago. Think of cell phones the way we used them. Think of stereo systems.
Right.
Think of computers even. The amount of technology that is in this world now, people use in social media, Facebook, Twitter, all those things didn't exist 20 years ago to the degree they do now. 20 years from now, if we're not pushing our students to be abreast in how to use technology of the future, and if we're not, as leaders in the community and teachers in the community, building an educational program that gives them those tools and teaches them how to use technology, then our kids are going to be behind. So we're believers of being on the front edge of new technologies, and we're doing a lot of that. In fact, we rolled out an iPad in the hand of every freshman at Revere High School this year. Next year, every student at the high school will be learning with an iPad in his hand.
Do they have to buy their own iPads, or the school supply?
They're supplied by the school, and they have to replace it if they do something to it. But it's supplied by the school, and it returns back to the school. So if they care for them well and they treat them right, they pass down, and we can reuse them. But if we weren't doing that with our students, much of the work they do in college right now is online learning. And online learning and using a computer as a tool in any industry at all now. I was in the dentist's office today. They were using a computer to look up my old records. They were using a computer actually to show the x-rays that they took on. And to get those jobs, we have to be training kids how to use the technologies in the world in which we live.
I got to tell you, when I first started, we used the slide rule.
Yeah, I did too.
You did too? Okay. We did everything by hand, by paper up here. But what happens, do the kids in school learn how to do with and without the computer, or just with the computer?
No, they use with and without. But a slide rule is a good example. I mean, I used a slide in high school. Calculators, as we know them now, weren't around in the mid and late 60s when I was in high school. I had to learn, and I was in a school learning electronics at the time, I had to learn the complete use of a slide rule Right now, the kids in the high school learning the courses that I used that slide rule on use a graphing calculator, an elaborate tool, or a computer for that matter, to do the kind of work that I did on a slide rule. But as I had to with the slide rule, know how to do my algorithms in pushing the pencil on the paper and following rules of solving equations and logic, so does a student have to know that, even utilizing the technology that's embraced with computers.
When I worked for an engineering company, Dr. Dakin, when we used the slide rule, when the calculators first came out, I'll never forget that. A gentleman came around. All the calculator did was multiply, divide, subtract.
Right, in the beginning it did. No logarithms or anything.
Nothing on it. No trick functions, nothing on it.
Right.
The first time I said, how much was it? $700 when they first came out. Just for a plane. Now you can buy one for $10, $15, and it's got everything on it.
No, it is. It's amazing. Same thing with cell phones and the technology that world is.
Now, when I went to high school, if I can say, we learned, we had like algebra, plane geometry.
Yeah.
The final course was solid geometry, and pre-trigonometry.
Right.
I was speaking to a young lady here. She's learning calculus in high school.
Yeah, we do calculus. Actually, depending on where the student is tracked, we have a very rigorous program. All of the children complete algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and then a course beyond algebra.
Right, we had geometry, sir. Like I said, solid geometry, and another geometry, if my memory is correct, was called analytical geometry.
Right. Yeah, we have students, a number of students. There's probably 80 students in Calculus 1, and actually students can take a second calculus course, Calc 2 in high school. So they can go off into college. I was a math major when I went to college.
Oh, you was a math major?
And
I'm going to speak to you after the show is over, sir. I got something for you.
And then, you know, so I had some rigorous math in high school, but I had to take Calc 1 and Calc 2 in college. Our kids leaving Revere High School that are exposed to Calc 1 and Calc 2 can save those two courses and just blow by them and fulfill their math obligations in different ways.
I don't want to brag, but special students, when I went to high school, we took another course in geometry. Now, I mentioned 3 of them, solid, plane, analytical. There was another one we took, was called descriptive geometry, which was 3-dimensional geometry.
Right.
We took that. I speak to some of the kids even today, and I say, how did you make out in descriptive?
It's not the same.
It's not the same,
No.
right?
It's a different kind of system they use now. They've taken pieces of all of those geometries and wrapped them into a course. And then a lot of the other stuff happens in discrete math and other math courses. So they've partitioned out the old 3-level geometry curriculum.
Oh, so they combined a lot
Yeah,
of
they're
them.
combined into other pockets.
I could see like solid geometry and descriptive geometry being combined.
Yeah, they combine that kind of stuff.
Right,
Exactly.
and analytical and plane.
Right.
Right.
And that's exactly how it's partitioned.
Oh, okay.
So that's what allows them to do more and get to calculus.
Okay. I remember that, if my memory serves me correct, there was differential and integral calculus, and there was differential equations.
Differential equations.
But I never used them once I got out of college.
You know this stuff. I'm impressed.
No. You should see my brother Norris. He's a wizard at this stuff.
I'm impressed.
No. Well, I wasn't the best student in school, but I was a good student. I mean, you know, I worked for Bechtel Corporation for a while, and they shipped me overseas.
Were you the second best student?
After all the others, yes. I like that. I like that little joke. By the way, forgive me, Dr. Dakin. There's a couple of people here I would like to honor before we wrap up the show. There's also, at the Paul Revere School, every Veterans Day, November the 11th, there's a teacher there, terrific teacher, Terry Inserto, I believe.
Terry's a great teacher.
Organizes the kids,
Yep.
organizes the singers to come down, the people that really sell, and we go there and we have a wonderful time. So, Terry, if you're listening, thank you for the wonderful time you showed to the veterans.
No, it's a great program they put on.
Also, we have another student of Revere High School who's now a student at Boston College. A terrific, and I hope I got the name right. Her name is Amanda Digitali.
Digitali, yeah.
Ring a bell?
Yes, absolutely.
What is she like? Just give me, because I've never met her.
Terrific student, terrific person, terrific family. A wonderful kid. BC was a great placement for her. A Catholic college, a really nice, well-rounded kid who, you know, appreciates not only an academic world, but a social world and a spiritual world. RVC was a great placement for her. Wonderful family.
Right. There's another one that I would like to honor. You know, Donna Dreesen that works down at the Revere Veterans with Nick Boer, she has a daughter, Maria Dreesen, who's a graduate of Revere High School, who's attending Union College in Schenectady, New York, and she also helped the seniors, because I am a senior, as you could tell, and also was very active in the interactive program at the high school. I don't know what the interactive program is.
Interact is a program that, you know, gets involved in helping a lot and doing a lot of activities for people. But the Dreesens are another one. There's a clan, a family that, you know, the whole list of them have done great things at Revere High School, and another family that really supports education and understood what we were trying to do with kids. As much as, you know, we were pushing students to get stronger and take tougher courses, the Dreesens were one of those folks that appreciated that and liked it at a time when some people thought we were pushing too hard.
I got to tell you, when I was over in Germany, and of course during the time when the Nut was there, I'm talking about Hitler, when I was interrogating some of the Germans, one of them said to me, he called me a Verräter, which in German means a traitor, but because he thought I was one of them, but I wasn't. Then, but after I started talking to him, he taught me something that I always remembered. He says, Gedanken. I don't know if you know what Gedanken means in German. It means thought, sind frei. Thoughts is free. He says they could take everything away from you, like they took everything away from us, but they never took anything that was in our minds away from us, and we always kept that. Dr. Dakin, we have about a minute and a half left. I would like to give you that minute and a half to wrap it up, sir, and say whatever you like. And I want to say it's a pleasure to have you as the superintendent of the year, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Please do now.
Well, you know, thank you for the opportunity to meet you and talk to you, and to explain to the community a little bit more about the public schools.
I got a good lesson here, sir.
Our teachers are so appreciated throughout the state, and the accomplishments of our students and teachers. Model programs that have been developed in Revere have been replicated elsewhere. And I don't think a lot of our own residents know how powerfully respected our administrators and teachers are. You know, the Paul Revere is the first innovation school in the state. That's the first one ever developed. Without our teachers and without our administrators, we would have never been able to do that. First in the state of that whole program. And then we have 3 expanded learning time schools. Those are schools that stay open longer so that kids can, in today's world, you know, get more of the work they need. You know, there's only 22 expanded learning time schools in the state, and the state pays for the extra time in those schools.
And 3 of them are right here?
And 3 of them are in Revere.
Out of 300 and some odd counties?
Out of the whole state. The whole state, we have, there's 22 of the schools, we have 3 of them, expanded learning time. So the state looks at us in the education department as being very progressive. So I would just have to say, the more our residents can understand our school system, they really should appreciate the hard work the teachers are doing.
Right, Mr. Dakin, and I want to take the time out to, first of all, to thank you for coming here.
You're welcome, sir.
And may God bless you.
Same
May God
to you.
bless the community of Revere, our troops, and especially the United States of America. And thank you for listening. And I hope you students and you teachers got a good lesson from Dr. Paul Dakin, because I certainly did. And thank you.